Nats drop game 2 in San Diego, but more importantly, the Washington Nationals, they have Keibert Ruiz heading to the IL and Drew Millas called up. And guys, I kind of like this for Drew Millas. I'll tell you why.
You are Locked On Nationals, your daily Washington Nationals podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. And of course, I am your host, Ryan Clary. You can catch me over on Twitter at RyanClary11 and as well as our show page at LO_Nationals. For all your latest Nationals news and notes, make sure to check us out over on Twitter. And of course, look up Locked On Nationals wherever you get your podcast. And later on in today's show, we've got a Game 3 preview where Mackenzie Gore, revenge game. That's going to be a fun one. We'll have that discussion for you later on in today's program. And in the second segment, we are going to be predicting July's headlines, but in June. This is kind of a fun little exercise that I thought of, and I think July is going to be a huge month for the Washington Nationals. You've got the Nationals picking number 1 overall. You've got the trade deadline. You've got coaches on the hot seat here in DC. July, that's a big month. So we'll predict those headlines in the second segment. But we start off discussing the Washington Nationals loss 4-3 against the Padres. And yeah, Keibert Ruiz is unfortunately heading to the IL, but that brings up Drew Millas, and I think he's got something in store for the Washington Nationals. We'll discuss that, but today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money, and take control of your finances with Monarch Money and use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. So the Washington Nationals, after dominating in Game 1, I believe their 1 through 6 hitters combined for 14 hits in Game 1. That was not the case in Game 2. The Washington Nationals offense went ice cold in San Diego, and unfortunately for the Nationals, it just was not their night. Here's where the Nationals kind of lined up. If you have James Wood going 0 for 4 or 3 Ks, you're likely not going to win the game. Your offense likely is not going to pick up the pace. Well, that's exactly what happened for the Washington Nationals, because 1 through 5, the only guy to get a hit was C.J. Abrams, who had another multi-hit game and also had his 17th double of the season yesterday. Now has his batting average back up to 87 with an 851 OPS. Very respectable for your former All-Star shortstop there. But the Nationals offense just simply did not have it in yesterday's game. And I want to talk about Brady House, who did have a nice little hit there yesterday. But overall, Brady House right now, he feels a little overwhelmed. When I watch him at the plate here, I'm not necessarily seeing the power that just kind of blew up right away when we saw James Wood first time last year. We saw the power on display. We knew that it was going to click eventually. I think Brady House does fit in that bucket a little bit, but right now he has not been hitting for the power that I really anticipated him to do. And honestly, the thing that I did not anticipate him to do was to hit for average at this point. He's batting .250 at this point. He's consistently been getting on base and been putting the ball in play and hasn't really been striking out as much as I really thought going into his first major league stint. But Brady House seems a little overwhelmed at this point, and that's okay. When you are a young prospect just getting into the majors, and by the way, he was thrown in a pretty crappy situation. You were in the middle of an 11-12 game losing skid for the Nationals, and Brady House is kind of used as a scapegoat there for them. Wasn't the best of ideas by the Washington Nationals, but they made that decision, and they made their bed, and they're going to have to sleep in it now. So right now, Brady House, I'm not saying he's like broken. I'm not saying that you should be worried at this point, but the things that I was expecting to see have not necessarily come up. You have not seen the power, but also you have seen the hit tool. So it's a little backwards at this point. It's way too early to really even just judge anything at this point. It's been a week and a half, I guess you could say, in the bigs. No one should be overall concerned with where Brady House is, but I do want to say he does look a little overwhelmed at the plate, but also defensively, the guy is stout. He is a stud defender at this point in time. But what I want to get into now is the Nationals catcher situation. Keibert Ruiz has been put on the 10-day IL. He was hit the other night, Monday night's first game in San Diego, from a screaming line drive in the dugout. A really scary situation. Was pulled out of the game, had a CT scan, and it seems like everything should be in line for him to have a speedy recovery. And he spoke to reporters yesterday. But right now, with Drew Millas coming up, this is kind of an opportunity for Drew Millas, but also for the Nationals organization. This is kind of their last stop as the catcher position goes for now. We have talked about Caleb Lomavita. He's in high A Wilmington. He's not going to be in the majors probably for another 2 years, at least. Outside of that, you don't really have that many catcher prospects that you can say, I'm excited for this guy. Drew Millas, we have seen him now. You kind of know what he is. He is the best defensive catcher in this system by far and away. He is better than Riley Adams, and he is better than Keibert Ruiz. Drew Millas getting called up now, this is the perfect opportunity for this guy to run with this job for at least the rest of this season. Riley Adams, the struggles have been real. We all know it. He has not been hitting at the plate. He's not particularly good defensively. And right now, he's batting 106 with a 405 OPS. I mean, it has been a tough run for Riley Adams at this point. And Drew Millas, by the way, has not been killing the baseball in AAA. He has been a lot better as of recent, but he had a very slow start in AAA, and he actually kind of went on this a few weeks ago. I saw him on a podcast, and Drew Millas was a little surprised that he was sent down in AAA. He thought he would make the major league team. He thought he would have an opportunity to play a couple times every few days or so. But Drew Millas, that has not been the case. But now is the time for the Nationals to really test run this thing, to really have Drew Millas go out there and, number one, improve defensively. I saw this the other day. Jose Ferrer, and this is just one case, with Riley Adams behind the plate, and it's a much smaller sample size than Keibert Ruiz, but he has a 0 ERA. Compared to when Keibert is behind the plate, he has like nearly a 7 or an 8 ERA, somewhere in that sphere there. The Nationals have to try something new at catcher. And unfortunately, it comes at the cost of Keibert Ruiz. I wish him well. I hope he recovers well. But right now, the Nationals, you have an opportunity here to see what you have in Drew Millas. Because it's no secret. I hate to kick someone while they're down, but Keibert Ruiz has not been getting it done. Defensively, offensively speaking, in every category there is. It's been very, very obvious the Nationals need to find a long-term solution behind the plate. I'm not saying Drew Millas is going to be that. But one thing I can tell you about Drew Millas is that he is a better defensive catcher. He is the best defensive catcher between Keibert Ruiz and Riley Adams. And offensively, I'm not sure it's going to get much worse than either of those guys also. Because Drew Millas, he has been working on one thing down to the minors, according to himself. Power. Slug. He needs that power. He has not been able to hit for power up in the majors, and that's really why the Nationals have been sending him back down over the years. Drew Millas is not going to take this job and be the Nationals' future catcher. He's not going to be. But I think this is going to be a little experiment for them. If you have better outcomes from your starting pitchers and from your bullpen guys with Drew Millas behind the plate, calling a better game than what Keibert Ruiz or Riley Adams would, then I would consider having Drew Millas as my full-time catcher moving forward. And not just moving forward like in 2026 and beyond. Keibert Ruiz is extended all the way through 2030. He's probably going to be your guy for next season if we're just being honest. But Drew Millas does have a real chance here to move off of Riley Adams and maybe DFA the guy. Not sure if he has any options left, but still, Drew Millas, this is his opportunity. And forget his opportunity. This is also the opportunity for the Nationals. Because I think that deeper down in this issue with pitching and with the inconsistencies out of the bullpen, some of it may stem from catchers calling a poor game. Some of it may stem from catchers not being able to frame a pitch. These are real things that I think a lot of us just kind of forget about. And Drew Millas may be the one to kind of fix that issue or at least shine a light on it. And also, while he's doing that defensively, maybe he comes up with better production, offensively speaking. Maybe he comes up and he does have a little bit more power. Maybe the Nationals do have more production. Maybe they do start to win more games. Maybe that is the missing piece where you have these guys like Riley Adams and Keibert Ruiz who quite literally have a negative WAR in the season combined, have an opportunity to see what a winning player does to this team and what it can do to this pitching staff. Issue that the Nationals have as far as their catcher goes. This has not been a secret. The Washington Nationals know this. Keibert Ruiz knows this. Riley Adams knows this. And the pitching staff, they probably know it as well. It's an issue. Drew Millas has an opportunity to fix that issue, at least for now, or to at least shine a light on the Nationals catcher problem. He's not going to fix everything. He's not going to turn this team into a winning team. This team, it is what it is at this point. It's June 25th. You kind of know what they are. But I do think that with Drew Millas taking this position for now, and if the Nationals were smart about this, they would probably start him for the next week. You'd be able to see what you have back there. And maybe Drew Millas can shine that light on the Nationals issue, which is their catcher position. And maybe you can have better outcomes for your pitchers. Because the proof is in the pudding at this point. Pitchers have struggled with Keibert Ruiz behind the plate. They have also struggled with Riley Adams, but even then, it's been a tick better than Ruiz at times. Drew Millas, hopefully he's in the starting lineup today, but I guess we'll find that out as we inch closer to game time because the Nationals, they take on the Padres today at 4 p.m. with Mackenzie Gore on the bump. Going to be a fun one. We'll preview for that. We'll preview that one a little bit later on in today's show. And also, you've got another former Washington National draftee, Nick Pivetta, a Nationals fourth-round pick back in 2013, I believe. And he's going up against his former team. And Mackenzie Gore, he's going up against the team that drafted him. So we'll have that preview for you later on in the show today. But next, let's predict July's headlines. And right now, I've got 3 for you. One about the draft, one about the trade deadline and a hot name, and number 3 about the staff. We'll have that preview for you later on in today's show, but let me tell you guys about our friends over at Monarch Money. And of course, you ever wish managing your money felt easier? Well, with Monarch Money, it can. And whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat, and it's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. And Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center, and you can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. I'm a young person. I'm not very good with my money, but of course, I have since gone with Monarch Money, and they are my personal CFO. There is opportunities there where I can see that I'm delivering too much food, or I'm going to the grocery store far too often and not taking advantage of discounts. And of course, if you're sharing finances with someone, it even helps you in that department. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money and use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. Again, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. Thank you all for making Locked On Nationals your first listen every single day, as we are free and available wherever you get your podcast. And of course, coming up later, we have a Game 3 preview. It is a Mackenzie Gore bump day, one of my favorite bump days of the year on this hump day. It's a Mackenzie Gore bump day on a hump day. What a day. We'll have that preview later on in today's show. But we start off discussing July's headlines and predicting July's headlines, but in the month of June. My number one headline starts off with the MLB Draft, and it's probably the biggest headline for the Washington Nationals over the next few weeks. But my first headline with the draft, a new holiday in the capital. Ethan Holiday is drafted to DC. I have been saying that the Nationals will be going a left-handed pitcher, whether it be Cade Anderson from LSU, or it's Liam Doyle from Tennessee, or maybe it's Jamie Arnold from Florida State. But in this headline, I'm trying to think for the Nationals. And I think the Nationals right now, they are probably leaning the most impactful player. And the most impactful player with probably the highest ceiling in this draft is Ethan Holiday in their eyes. It's no secret. The Nationals need star power. I'm not sure if you're going to get star power from Cade Anderson. We talked a lot about him on yesterday's show. You can check that out from yesterday as I kind of went in on a little breakdown for him on a few minutes just from the LSU stud. But I think Ethan Holiday right now is probably the Nationals pick. And you might be thinking to yourself, well, Ryan, you've been saying that they're going to be targeting a pitcher, and they should be targeting a pitcher. That's what I think. But I'm thinking for the Nationals. They are looking around their organization, and they need a lot of talent. They need an influx of talent in the farm system. They need an influx of talent to the major league roster. And I think Ethan Holiday is a guy and a talent that they simply will not pass on. They will not be the ones to say, we're not going to be able to develop this guy, so we're just going to pass him. If I'm the Nationals, you have to have the biggest punch here thrown. And unfortunately for them, there is no generational talent. There is no Paul Skeens at the top of this year's draft. There is no even a Jackson Holiday type at the top of this draft. There is an Ethan Holiday who some people think could be better, but even then, there are some swing and miss concerns with the kid coming out of high school. That's where the Nationals are going to have to figure this thing out and see if they can develop him. That's really the main concern moving forward. So as of right now, my number one headline and predicting July's headlines for the Nationals is a new holiday in the capital. Ethan Holiday is drafted to DC. He's coming to Washington, D.C., the nation's capital, another holiday. You get it? It's a fun little headline. It's a fun little drill we're going to predict July's headlines for. So watch out for Jackson Holiday. And of course, as we get up into the MLB draft, we'll have all of these predictions and breakdowns and much more as the weeks come ahead. So we're only about a few weeks away from the MLB draft, and the Nationals, they'll be adding a star to their system regardless of who they pick. So stay tuned for that. We'll have that discussion going up for the next few weeks. My second headline, predicting July's headlines in the month of June. How low will the offers go? Apparently too much. Nathaniel Lowe stays put at the trade deadline. This has been a hot topic as of recent. Nathaniel Lowe is certainly going to get trade interest. And again, the trade deadline is next month. We're almost a month away from the trade deadline at this point. Nathaniel Lowe has quietly put up decent numbers as of late, but if you look at the batting average and the slug and the on-base percentage and his fielding metrics, they don't really go in his favor. And he's 31 years old at this point. He's a free agent after next season. The Nationals, it would make sense if they do move off him. But I'm not sure that the Nationals are going to get what they think they could get for Nathaniel Lowe. How desperate will teams get is the real question. How desperate will teams get for an average defensive first baseman and a relatively average offensive bat? I don't think the Nationals are just going to move off this guy for nothing. They're going to want a pretty big piece in return, and it's not going to be a top 10 prospect in baseball, but a fringe top 100 prospect. I think they could try to fetch that for Nathaniel Lowe. But I don't think a team is going to give that up unless they're very, very desperate for that. And you've seen the Boston Red Sox and kind of what they have been doing. They seem as if that they could be in that selling market and not selling off major young pieces, but they could sell off an Alex Bregman. They could sell off just like a guy they just did with Rafael Devers. You don't really know what a team like that would do because they're the team that I think a lot of people have just drawn Nathaniel Lowe to, but also a team maybe like the New York Mets. If they want to platoon Nathaniel Lowe and Pete Alonso there and have Alonso be the DH and Lowe play first base defensively there. That's kind of what you could expect at this point for the two teams going after Nathaniel Lowe. But I'm not sure that either of those teams will try to give up some of their young, talented prospects for a year and a half of Nathaniel Lowe. And someone who, he's going to have the home run numbers by the end of the season, and he's been impressive with the power at times. He's not doing it consistently enough. He just is not. I'm not concerned about Nathaniel Lowe long term. I think the Nationals and what they gave up for him was a pretty solid deal, all things considered. But with where Nathaniel Lowe is today, the Nats aren't just going to give this guy up just because he has a year and a half of team control left. They're going to see this thing through. And if they do believe that next year they are going to compete, who knows? And maybe they go in this offseason and they spend big, then you should hold on to Nathaniel Lowe. You should. You need to have some guys really gel in this clubhouse. And unfortunately, these veteran guys like Jesse Winker, Jeimer Candelario, you have moved off them at the trade deadline. If you think you're going to compete and the end should be near, then you keep Nathaniel Lowe. So that's my second headline for the month of July to watch. And my third, definitely not least, the end for Davey is near. ... It's as clear as ever now. Davey Martinez here is not for long. I'm not even 100%. I'm sure Mike Rizzo will have his job saved as under the Lerner ownership, but I'm not sure that you can defend Davey Martinez anymore. I'm not sold on this team saying, you know what, we're going to run it back with Davey. Mike Rizzo and Davey are very tight. But right now, and with where this team is today, you got to think to yourself, when is the end of the road going to come? And it's likely going to come this offseason. I don't think the Nationals make any in-season moves unless things get really bad at this point. And we've seen them get really bad and they still stuck by them. And now, as we've seen, they've taken 1 of 2 against the Padres. They took 1 of 3 against the Dodgers. I don't think Davey Martinez is going to get canned anytime soon. But the end is certainly near. And I think if the Nationals have a really slow July, you'll probably kind of start to see that conversation pop up a little bit more. So those are my 3 prediction headlines heading into July. I'll give them to you real quick again. My number 1 headline is a new holiday in the Capitol. Ethan Holiday is drafted to DC. How low will the offers go? Apparently too low. Nathaniel Lowe stays put at the trade deadline. And number 3, the end is near. The end for Davey is near. Those are your 3 headlines. Fun little exercise. Let me know what you think about that in the comments section. But next, let's get into a Game 3 preview as you've got Nick Pivetta going up against Mackenzie Gore. But now I got to tell you guys about our very good friends over at Rugiet. Guys, you've probably heard of Viagra or Cialis, and maybe you've even tried them. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rugiet Ready. And Rugiet Ready is a next-gen prescription treatment designed to amplify arousal in brain and boost blood flow. Unlike the usual pills that can take hours, Rugiet's 3-in-1 formula dissolves under your tongue and kicks in fast on average in 15 minutes. And effects can last up to 36 hours so you can stay confident and in control when the moment is right. And if traditional options haven't worked, Rugiet might be the answer. Over 150,000 men have already made the switch, and I love that it's completely on, Ryan. And Rugiet connects you with a board-certified doctor and ships you treatment discreetly to your door. So head to Rugiet.com/LockedOnMLB and use code LockedOnMLB to get 15% off today. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnMLB and use promo code LockedOnMLB for 15% off today. Now we jump into it with a Nationals-Padres Game 3 preview. We've got a former Nationals draft pick, Nick Pivetta, going up against a former Padres draft pick with Mackenzie Gore. And Mackenzie Gore was the third overall pick back in 2017 for the San Diego Padres. Worked his way into being a top 10 prospect in baseball, had some injuries, but as we know today, he's a Mackenzie Gore that we know and love. And he's coming off a start in which was relatively probably his worst start of the season going up against the Dodgers. He got 5 earned runs there, although it wasn't the best of starts for the guy. I do think he was a little bit better than what his line indicates there. It kind of blew up for him later on in that game. But Mackenzie Gore has been the Nationals' ace for months. He has been the guy for, forget months, years. I think this is going to be a big game for him. He's coming off a bad start. And as we kind of know with Mackenzie Gore, at least from what we can tell this season, when he's coming off a bad start, or for him, a bad start when it's like 3 runs and 5-6 innings pitch, he bounces back the next time around. I think today is going to be the day where Mackenzie Gore just has his revenge game. Because we saw him last year in San Diego, got rocked a little bit. You know this guy wants to compete. You know that he really wants to stick it against his former team here. And maybe Nick Pivetta has that same kind of outlook on the Washington Nationals when they traded him back in the day for, I forgot what the package was, but you understand the point at this time. The Nationals and the Padres, always a sneaky fun watch. For whatever reason, these organizations, not to say that they don't like each other, but I've seen some Padres fans out there saying they hate the Nationals for what they did last year. They hate Keibert Ruiz and all that stuff. But come on. It's all about the Juan Soto deal. That's why you guys hate the Nationals. And I don't hate the Padres. I think they're an annoying, pesky team. I think they're very in your face. But I think it's good for baseball. And I think the Nationals kind of having this little mini rivalry with them, it's been a fun watch. So you've got Game 3 today with, again, a lot of storylines here with Mackenzie Gore going up against the team that drafted him and Nick Pivetta also going up against the team that drafted him. And also you got to watch for Drew Millas here. I expect Drew Millas to get the start in today's game behind the dish. He's taking place for Keibert Ruiz on the 10-day IL, and it's going to be a fun watch. So let's see if the Nationals can get it done. You've got your ace on the mound. Let's get him some offense. I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Have a good one. Go Nats.